Jeremiah and I and a lot of the team here make an orchestration framework called Prefect. About a year ago, actually a year ago today is the anniversary of this project. Anthropic put out the Python SDK for MCP. It came out on some idle Thursday. We thought it was a really cool project. To us, you know, we've been telling ourselves this story of like humans are either orchestrators themselves or they try and imbue themselves as orchestrators in software. And then over the last few years, it's been this steady transition of power and regime change from humans as orchestrators to agents as orchestrators. And so when we see a protocol that basically puts forward this idea of agents can be orchestrators over tool sets executed remotely, we took the idea pretty seriously. The problem was it was goofy as hell to use. And so it was elegant, it was low level, it was starlet in the FastAPI analogy here. And so we endeavored to get together that following Monday to get together and write what would the FastAPI for MCP look like. Of course, fool me 8 times, shame on me. That Monday, Jeremiah just showed up with FastMCP completely built out. And so that was a year ago today. A few weeks later, Anthropic called us up. They said, we like the cut of your jib. We would love to have this included and vendored into the official SDK. And then a few months later, folks called us up in open source. We took a page out of Samuel's book where they were begging for like, can we get high-level syntactic sugar for things like auth, things like middleware? So we cut a second major version and have been maintaining that ever since. So MCP at the end of the day is a protocol. So it's a set of rules. That set of rules evolves every few months. The last rule changes were in June that introduced beloved things like dynamic client registration. Cool. There's some folks that get the joke. The next evolution of this is coming in a few days, and so I wanted to talk about one of the most exciting parts of that evolution. So I want to talk about SEP-1686, which stands for Standard Enhancement Proposal. I just want to give you a warning. This is what I consider to be an incredibly important but just dreadfully underwhelming demo, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about why. If you go dispatch some deep research thing to tell you what SEP-1686 is, you're going to learn that it's when the Habsburgs captured Austria or captured Budapest from the Ottomans in September 1686. And so I'm hoping that, you know, after this talk, this will be the second most important SEP-1686 that you'll see. Let's think about where we were a year ago. A year ago, when people designed agents, they designed it in a way where the agent which executed the sort of planning loop was co-located with the tools that it was responsible for executing. This was good. Ish, but of course it exposed the agent, the central thing that was responsible for keeping state, to the long tail risk of all the tools that it was responsible for executing. Folks that maybe have a data engineering background know that this is no bueno, right? This is the reason why you try and keep Airflow tasks to go execute the like gnarly stuff somewhere else, because you don't want your Spark job to crash the scheduler, because then nothing gets scheduled. So the idea of trying to separate the concerns of the thing that's holding state and the thing that's responsible for doing all the risky nonsense, you want to keep those separate from each other so that you don't crash the thing that's important, which is the holder of state. So when MCP came out, this was not how it was sold. It was sold in a different way. Of course, at the end of the day, it was, what if we can separate tools from the planning environment of the agent? The agent can be responsible for conducting the plan, and it can remotely execute tools, prompts, resources, what have you, across a network boundary. At the time, this was exciting for a couple of different reasons. One is identity aware. This is sort of why it's not REST with more steps. It allows you to have long-running stateful identity aware conversations over time. When one person calls list tools, I can enforce that they see a different set of capabilities than what I would see. This is really hard to do in REST. If you want to do this in REST, or what is it, Hypermedia is the engine of all state or something like this. I don't know if there are any HTMX pros around here, but like the idea being that if you wanted to try and build something that was a static manifest of capabilities that was dynamically filtered by identity and could broadcast when capabilities changed, you're building a protocol anyway, and it's going to be one that's different from REST to begin with. And so I think it being identity aware was definitely one of the things that we paid attention to. The second thing, of course, the major promise is that this made this particularly portable. For folks keeping score at home, it really definitely feels like agents are decomposing into like an orthogonal basis of trying to curate context and capabilities for them, and then the other orthogonal direction of their intelligence. And so this basically created a clean separation of concerns of like, how do I go about injecting intelligence in a way that's portable? How do I go about, if I want to have ramp research a year ago, probably would have, from ramp.research.snowflake import snowflake query connector or something like this. And then if Caesar's sister team wanted to build, ramp Bizarro research, they would probably have to go define that themselves. Now we have a paradigm in which you can define once and run anywhere, not just between us trying to run it in Claude Code, but you can have like normies who are trying to use ChatGPT also execute that as well. And so this idea of define once and share everywhere was really important. If you've ever run a platform team, the idea that you get to like sit and actually like hold the keys over how capabilities are defined, and you can track them in one place, you can share them in one place. When people complain about them, you can aggregate all that feedback to improve it over time. This is a really attractive endeavor. But of course, the reason why Jeremiah and I saw it as particularly exciting is that it solved this kind of like orchestration 101 problem, is it presented a really good separation of concerns of the thing that's responsible for holding state and all the bad stuff you want it to do. Because of course, like orchestration 101 at the end of the day is that you don't want the long tail risk of your task to accumulate to crash the thing responsible for holding state. And so you end up creating a lot of fire doors to make sure that the thing that has to stay alive stays alive. And then you let everything else burn. And so, okay, so of course there's no free lunch here, right? So we've gone and we've isolated this. But we've isolated at a huge cost. The cost that the devil's bargain here is that everything now occurs over a network boundary. And network boundaries are terrible because they're super brittle, they're sensitive to timeouts. So now if you want to go get a Snowflake query to occur from Claude Code, you better be able and willing to hold open a network connection for that query to finish. And then when that query is open, boy, does everybody have knives out for it. And so, we had this promise of portability and a good separation of concerns, but now the monkey paw curls, and now we have to orchestrate this over something that's pretty brittle. So what did people do? They fractured this notion of portability. People kept all the dumb stuff that doesn't matter on an MCP server, and then people kept all the big stuff client side. Because the big stuff you can't have happen over a network boundary, so you co-locate that with the agent. What's the problem? The big stuff is the thing that was going to crash your agent anyway. And so not only do you get fractured portability, but you're actually not offloading the risk of the thing that was important to offload the risk from. So what else did people do? They did some goofy stuff. Important stuff, but goofy stuff. We have a goofy emoji in our internal Slack just for when we see stuff like this. So what people did is they invented their own orchestration. So what they would do is they would take all their tools, and instead of those tools responding anything of import, they would just fast respond, like instead of a 200, it's like a 202 accepted, right? Like you basically respond and you say like, I got it, I'm gonna start working on this thing, here's an ID for you to check up on it later. Then you build your own state machine server side. And that state machine, you basically expose over the wire as a get status. Did you accept this thing? Are you still working on it? Are you still working on it? Are you still working on it? Okay, now you're done. And then when you get confirmation that it's done, then you expose another tool that's responsible for going and getting the result from that. But now the agent needs to poll. Why? When you tried to adopt this pattern and you put it into Claude Web, what would happen? You would say, go do this big expensive thing. Claude would say, great, I'm on it. And you would say, cool, is it done yet? And it would say, let me go check. Nope. And what's the problem? The problem is that Claude Web, Claude Code, maybe Claude Code, Claude Web, ChatGPT, all of the clients that were responsible for going and trying to check up on the results of stuff didn't have like a deterministic polling loop to go check to see if the thing was done. Since they could only really take actions if a human prompted them, now we don't really have like the agentic experience that we're all that we're all yearning for. But this pattern was pretty interesting though, right? And it was, let's see if this is Jeremiah calling me. This is Jeremiah calling me. Hey, are you downstairs?
Jeremiah? Hey, yeah, I'm in the lobby.
Okay, cool. We're sending Erica down. Cool. All right. You'll see Jeremiah here in a second. Well, and then we can all ask him questions. Huh? Oh, yeah. Okay. So I want to be respectful of folks' time. So, okay, so now what's the problem? the problem is, one, these get status, get result things, they bloat the context window. Everybody was defining them in different ways. One would be get underscore status underscore please. Some would be get underscore result underscore my job depends on it. And then agents, of course, needed to be able to pull for this stuff. So now you have a behavior that you want on the server. You have a behavior that you need to exist on the client in order to take advantage of. And those are exactly the things that rise to protocol concerns, when you need things on both sides to negotiate a handshake. This is a thing that we tried to kind of abdicate responsibility of this for a while, and then it just kept coming up, and so we decided to do something about it. So what do you need when you're trying to build a task orchestrator? You need an identifier for work to be done. You need that thing to hold state. You need a way of communicating that state change over time, and you need to be able to give that result an address so that you can go check on it earlier. It's exactly what everybody was trying to implement before, but now we can abstract it. And so what does SEP-1686 do? It allows folks to call tools with a client-provided task ID. The server can respond with a notification that I got the tool, or I got the request, I'm gonna go start working on it. The client now has a polling mechanism that it can go and ask the MCP server about the status of a job. It's configurable from the server, so the server can say like, this is gonna be a pretty long job here, don't ask me every half second. You can configure it from the server to say, please ask me every 10 minutes or something like this. And then of course there's a results API for you to actually go and ask for the result of the task that's coming through. To make this backwards compatible, this takes place the way that all MCP handshakes do, right? Whenever you make a handshake between client and server, you ask the questions like, do you do tools? Because I do tools. Great. Do you do prompts? Because I do prompts. Great. And now there's another conversation to be had, which is basically, do you do tasks? Because I do tasks. And then they're going to handshake over this. So really, my goal here is to give like the world's most boring orchestration talk, which is basically, this is like the same classic separation of concerns that should really make every person here who's been an engineer for a while be like, thank God some sanity is coming to MCP. Because I think before, like it was very good at being like, hey Claude, like how many friends do I have? And it would be like 0. But now it's actually able to go orchestrate extremely long running work. It just means that you can push off the long running work to stuff on the server. And the protocol here now ensures that it's survivable. So you basically now have this bit where the agent's responsible for planning, the client's responsible for making the execution of its plan durable, and then now the MCP server is handling that task side orchestration. Okay, so I warned everybody that this was gonna be the most underwhelming demo, and let me tell you why it's gonna be underwhelming. It's gonna be underwhelming because one, I'm gonna ask everybody to look at inscrutably small logs, and the other bit is I'm basically gonna take something that everybody in this room has been able to do for a year. I'm going to execute the exact same thing. It's just the tasks are going to happen on a server instead of the client. And that's it. So there's no brand new like, gee whiz, look at this agent. It's just, I'm going to execute this in a way that's actually responsible for designing agents. And I'm going to stop asking all of us to just sort of adopt the sins of MCP as they've been for the last year. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to execute a deep research pattern. A deep research pattern at the end of the day is you boil away all the complexity and it says, I'm going to coerce a query to some structured output, and that structured output is going to have a high level objective, and I'm going to have a field that's responsible for mapping things out into a bunch of subqueries. I'm going to map reduce those subqueries to a bunch of independent searches, and then I'm going to have something responsible at the end of the day to coalesce and analyze the independent queries down into something digestible. This can, of course, happen over a long time horizon. You can bake in bells and whistles, but that's fundamentally it at the end of the day. And so I've got a few different agents. This is a huge plug for the Pydantic AI and Pydantic AI Gateway. This demo was broken because I was trying to get it to run on Nate's computer and not my own. And he didn't have any of my keys, but he had the Pydantic AI Gateway, so he was able to just like plug in gateway / and then we were good. So really high quality piece of software. So I'm going to execute this thing, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up terminal. That's not what I want. I'm going to go execute this thing. All right, and let's see what happens. So this thing, I said a couple of things. One is that I'm relying on Pydantic AI to basically author my agent. I'm relying on Prefect as a means of adding durable execution to my agent to make sure that it survives a restart. And then what I'm doing is I am getting all of these tasks to run server side. And so I can break out of this for a second. Samuel's not the only one that can pull up a log file browser. And basically what I can see, this is one that I did earlier, where it is basically farming out all of these things in parallel. Let me actually go break this thing open. So this might be more underwhelming than I even anticipated, especially as I try and click around. So what I'm getting from logs here is basically just things like mapping out into parallel requests and then breaking it down with an analysis agent at the end of the day. In actual, let me show all of Nate's Slack. I asked you guys to stare at inscrutable logs. Instead, I made you stare at scrutable logs that don't convey the picture that I'm going for, which is that client side, there was a process that was responsible for pulling the server for all the mapped out tasks. All that risky stuff was happening server side, and I was able to dynamically provision compute that was right sized for things on the actual server side. And so I think that there was a way too much effort put in the last year to try and make agents durable client side. I get it. But no amount of durable execution is going to save an agent with 2 gigs of memory that's under provisioned to try and load a 10 gig CSV into memory, right? Retry it till the end of time, you're going to be in sad shape. And so the way that I'm really thinking about these days is really, you pick your favorite agent framework. My favorite is Pydantic AI to actually author the control flow of your agent. You lean on a durable execution framework to make sure that client side plan is durable and survives a restart. But the thing that you're making sure is resilient and survives a restart is its plan, and not necessarily all the heavy stuff that it's responsible for doing that would actually compromise the integrity of ever being able to successfully execute. You push all the heavy stuff server side through MCP over now a very, very short-lived network connection, and then you rely on task orchestration that we've been building for the last decade to make sure that server-side tasks survive to completion. And so really the takeaway here is just sane engineering is coming to MCP. It's going to launch on Tuesday. I think this is the 3rd group in the world that's seen this successfully work, by the way. This is not implemented in the Python SDK. It's going to be landing on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, pip install FastMCP, and that's really it. So thanks everybody. So go check out Prefect and FastMCP. The fastest way to host them at scale is through fastmcp.cloud, and you can find me. I'm serially online at AAAZZAM. Thanks everybody. Any questions for Jeremiah?